Jill Berman, a 19-year-old student at Indiana University, vanished on May 31, 2000, during a morning bicycle ride that commenced in Bloomington. On that fateful morning, she departed from her parents' residence in Hyde Park for a brief ride before her work shift. An adept cyclist, Jill failed to arrive for her noon shift and was also expected to join her father and grandfather for a late lunch, which she missed. The following day, her parents reported her missing, prompting an extensive search and media campaign. Her family generously offered a $25,000 reward for any leads regarding her disappearance. Investigators theorized that Jill had cycled south of town, a notion supported by the discovery of a white water bottle matching one she carried, along with eyewitness accounts. One witness claimed to have seen Jill at 9:38 a.m., yet this report raised questions, as police confirmed she had logged off her email at 9:32 a.m., making it improbable for her to reach that location in just 6 minutes. Additionally, search dogs did not detect her scent in that area. A former classmate reported seeing her on Harold Road, close to where the water bottle was found. Another witness described a young woman resembling Jill riding north of the bike dump site near Paton's Hayfield Gate on North Maple Grove Road around 10 a.m. Police verified Jill's presence in that vicinity, as a search dog had picked up her scent. A third witness noted a white commercial van, identified as a Ford, near North Maple Grove Road at approximately 8:30 a.m., claiming it contained 2 men. This van was seen again at 9 a.m., with the witness suggesting it might have been a Bloomington hospital vehicle. At that time, police did not give the van much consideration, as they believed Jill was still at home, logged into her email. A subsequent report emerged from a witness who recounted seeing a bicycle abandoned on the eastern side of North Maple Grove Road, close to the junction of North and West Maple Grove Roads, just before noon that fateful day. The witness informed the authorities that the resident of the trailer home at 1465 West Maple Grove Road was John Myers, who had all his blinds drawn that day, a behavior the witness insisted was out of character for him. Notably, John had parked his vehicle in an unusual location, prompting the witness to inquire about the change. John's curt response was that he preferred solitude. This interaction led the police to seek him out for questioning regarding the mysterious disappearance of Jill. Upon their arrival, they identified the bicycle as belonging to Jill. Investigations revealed that John was employed at the Bloomington Hospital warehouse and occasionally drove a white Ford van. He claimed to have been on vacation from May 29th to June 2nd, although he spent the majority of that time at home. He had intended to travel, with Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, being one of the destinations, but his girlfriend had canceled their plans shortly before their departure due to their breakup. The police reviewed his phone records and inquired about several calls made from his trailer on the day Jill vanished. John insisted that his mother had made those calls, attributing his own lack of communication to feelings of depression, with his mother seeking distractions for him in light of the breakup. The authorities also interviewed his ex-girlfriend, Carly Goodman, who confirmed their past relationship but stated that they had never made any travel arrangements. On June 5th, John spoke with the police once more, expressing his concern for the missing girl and his fear that others might suspect his involvement. He lamented that he often found himself unjustly blamed when misfortune struck. He presented yet another intriguing assertion to the authorities, revealing his awareness that Jill's body had not been discovered and suggesting that, by this time, she was likely deceased. The Federal Bureau of Investigation entered the search effort on June 6th. On June 26th, police interrogated John's grandmother, who recounted that on the day Jill vanished, he had called her requesting a loan, insisting she deliver the money to him due to police roadblocks near his residence, as he was considered a suspect and preferred not to leave his home. The following month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation turned their attention to John's father, observing his evident nervousness during the inquiry. However, he did not provide any information deemed suspicious. In August, authorities spoke with John's brother, Samuel, who disclosed that his 12-gauge shotgun, stored at their father's house, was missing. A colleague of John's reported that he had expressed curiosity about whether the police would search a barn located on a certain road. Furthermore, John allegedly mentioned to this co-worker that he was aware of an ideal location to dispose of a body and claimed to know someone in Florida who possessed Jill's identification and checkbook. The reward for information leading to Jill's whereabouts escalated to $50,000. Investigators began to entertain a new theory that Jill had cycled north of town, where John, spotting her from his home, acted out of rage stemming from a breakup with another woman, abducting Jill and ultimately taking her life. On April 18, 2001, police speculated that Jill might have fallen victim to a hit and run, with the perpetrator concealing her body. By May 2001, the reward had increased to $100,000. Shortly thereafter, John approached the Federal Bureau of Investigation, claiming he had discovered a pair of women's underwear and a small fragment of bone in a creek while fishing. On March 22, 2002, Wendy Owings confessed to a Federal Bureau of Investigation agent, implicating herself, Alicia Evans, and a third individual, Uriah Klaus. Owings disclosed that she and her two companions were responsible for the tragic demise of Jill. She recounted that Uriah was at the wheel when he struck Jill with the vehicle, after which all three exited the car and inflicted multiple stab wounds to her chest. Following this horrific act, Owings stated they encased Jill's body in plastic sheets, secured it with bungee cords, and disposed of it in Salt Creek. The day after her confession, investigators initiated a search of Salt Creek, the site Owings indicated as the resting place for Jill's remains. However, this search was abruptly halted due to flooding and resumed in July and August 2002 once the waters receded. During these efforts, a substantial piece of industrial plastic was uncovered, aligning with Owings' description. On September 9, 2002, a significant section of Salt Creek was drained as part of the investigation, revealing another sheet of industrial plastic, a bungee cord, and a knife, all consistent with the items Owings had mentioned. Unfortunately, the search concluded without the recovery of Jill's remains. When confronted by authorities, Owings retracted her confession, prompting the police to pursue the other two suspects. They located Uriah Klaus in Brown County Jail, where he was serving time for battery, and he asserted his innocence regarding Jill Berman's disappearance. The police were unable to trace Alicia Evans. On March 27, 2002, John Myers, incarcerated in Monroe County Jail on unrelated charges, informed a correctional officer about some letters he had discovered while cleaning food trays. He claimed these notes pertained to Jill's case and expressed a desire to assist, providing the officer with a list of potential locations where her body might be found, contingent upon his release for the search. On March 9, 2003, human remains were uncovered by two hunters in the woods north of Bloomington, near the intersection of Warren and Duckworth Roads in Morgan County, approximately 20 miles from where Jill's bicycle had been located. They recovered about half of a human skeleton, with the other half still unaccounted for. The authorities uncovered no signs indicating that the individual had suffered from stabbing or beating. However, they did discover a shotgun shell wad at the scene, along with 380 number 8-shot lead pellets, which were likely discharged from a 12-gauge shotgun. On March 13th, the police revealed that the skeletal remains belonged to Jill Berman, with the cause of death identified as a shotgun blast to the back of her head. It was confirmed that the location of the remains was indeed the site of her tragic demise. She had not been murdered elsewhere and subsequently transported there. On April 9, 2006, Myers was apprehended and charged with Jill's murder. He made his initial court appearance at the Morgan County Courthouse on April 11th, facing charges of homicide. Although his trial was originally scheduled for July, it was postponed until October 16th and spanned 12 days. Despite the absence of physical evidence linking him to the crime, he was convicted of Jill's murder and sentenced to 65 years in prison. He later appealed, asserting that his legal representation during the trial was inadequate and that his defense team had been negligent. The following year, another appeal was initiated on his behalf, leading to a 5-year wait for an evidentiary hearing. In May 2013, Myers's appeal was ultimately denied. In November of that same year, his legal team sought recourse in federal courts, which took 6 years to address. In 2019, the court acknowledged that his legal counsel had performed inadequately, resulting in harm to Myers due to their errors. In April 2021, the United States Supreme Court declined to review the case. Following his initial conviction, the Indiana Court of Appeals determined that Myers had not sufficiently demonstrated that the testimony and evidence presented were false, or that the state was aware of any falsehoods. Myers sought the establishment of a new trial, asserting that state investigators had previously neglected to disclose over 8,000 pages of documents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Bloomington Police Department pertinent to the inquiries surrounding Jill's disappearance. He contended that a significant portion of these documents contained investigative insights that could affirm his innocence. However, without access to this evidence, Myers was unable to pinpoint any specific item that the state had allegedly withheld, leaving the court unable to ascertain whether such evidence would be advantageous to his defense or pertinent to the trial. The district court noted that these challenges persist, and although Myers enumerated particular evidence he deemed relevant and beneficial, it was not presented before the Indiana courts at that time, rendering it inadmissible for consideration. In October 2023, a judge from the United States District Court for the Southern District of Indiana denied Myers' petition for a new trial. Currently, Myers is incarcerated at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City, with the possibility of parole in 2037. Terry Doloe, a vibrant 24-year-old, resided in a mobile home nestled in the serene landscapes of rural La Crosse County, Wisconsin, alongside her fiancé, Russell Lee. Their shared life had flourished over the past 5 years, with Terry pursuing her studies at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, while also dedicating her time to a local eatery known as Piggy's. On the evening of Valentine's Day in 1985, Terry found herself working late, leaving Russell anxiously awaiting her return. She finally arrived home just past 1 a.m., while Russell, employed as a night auditor at the Rison-La Crosse Hotel, was due to commence his shift at 11 p.m. With only one vehicle at their disposal, he had no choice but to wait for her to return before he could depart for work. Already 2 hours behind schedule, he hurriedly left their home, despite Terry's desire for him to linger a while longer. Russell noted that Terry appeared fatigued and somewhat irritable, sharing, "She wanted me to spend some time with her, so she was a little depressed." Tragically, this would be the final moment he would share with his beloved fiancée. In the weeks leading up to that fateful night, Terry had been under considerable strain, balancing her studies with a demanding work schedule of 20 to 25 hours weekly, all while preparing for her impending graduation that spring. Financial concerns weighed heavily on the couple, as Russell later recounted. Upon arriving at work, Russell's worry for Terry's well-being intensified, prompting him to attempt to reach her by phone around 2 a.m. When his calls went unanswered, he made the decision to leave the Rison Hotel 2 hours later and return to their mobile home. Arriving around 4 a.m., he discovered the door ajar and the lights illuminating the interior. However, both Terry and her beloved poodle, Susie, were inexplicably absent, leaving behind her wallet, keys, and other personal belongings. Russell held on to the hope that perhaps Terry had taken Susie for a walk or had met a friend. Yet, With the weight of their financial troubles pressing on his mind, he reluctantly returned to work. It was only when he came back to the mobile home at approximately 6:30 a.m. to find Terry still missing that he reached out to her family and the authorities. Investigators meticulously examined the trailer home, yet no evidence of foul play emerged. Over the subsequent 4 days, local news outlets extensively covered Terry's story, urging anyone with information regarding her disappearance to step forward. Unfortunately, the investigation yielded scant clues. Russell recounted an unusual incident from the previous Sunday when a prowler had attempted to infiltrate their residence while he was present. He promptly contacted 911, and a patrol car was dispatched to the area that evening, but no findings were reported. A neighbor of Terry's provided another lead, stating he had witnessed her departing in a vehicle with a short man on the day she vanished. Although the neighbor could not pinpoint the exact date, he believed it coincided with her disappearance. The man was described as being between 5'2" and 5'4" tall, driving an older model 4-door car. However, the outcome of this information remains uncertain. On February 18th, 4 days post Terry's disappearance, a motorist traversing Mohawk Valley Road noticed an unusual glow reflecting off a bridge sign. Intrigued, he approached and discovered a charred body in the creek bed. He swiftly alerted authorities from a nearby farmhouse. First responders determined that the body had not been there long, and despite the decapitation, they identified it as 24-year-old Terry, based on the unburned clothing. Subsequent fingerprint analysis confirmed the identity. Terry's fiancé, Russell, quickly became the focus of the investigation, as he was the last person to see her and was burdened with debts ranging from $20,000 to $30,000, which police speculated could have provided a motive for murder. Russell, however, declined to furnish a list of his creditors, asserting that they were close friends and could not possibly be implicated. Authorities suspect that the perpetrator may have shadowed Terry from Piggy's restaurant to her residence that fateful night. After patiently waiting for Russell to depart for his shift at the Raison La Crosse Hotel, investigators theorize that the assailant gained entry to the mobile home, persuaded Terry to accompany him, and subsequently abducted and murdered her. It is believed that Terry endured captivity for a duration of 3 to 4 days prior to her tragic demise. Disturbingly, her head was never recovered, nor was her beloved dog. Law enforcement posits that she was likely decapitated and incinerated in a bid to thwart identification efforts. However, the remains did not fully succumb to the flames, allowing authorities to identify her through fingerprint analysis. The autopsy report suggests that Terry was slain elsewhere and her body discarded at the location where it was ultimately discovered. For 4 decades, the investigation languished in obscurity, with over 500 individuals interviewed, yet no arrests forthcoming, leaving the La Crosse community enveloped in fear and uncertainty. Then, in late September 2024, the Vernon County Sheriff's Office made a groundbreaking announcement. Michael Raymond Popp, a 60-year-old truck driver from Tomah, had been charged with Terry's murder. Authorities disclosed that DNA samples collected from Popp in January 2023 matched evidence found during Terry's autopsy. Prosecutors assert that Popp, who was just 21 at the time of the crime, had a personal connection with Terry. A senior at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, he resided in proximity to her mobile home. Initially, he claimed that Terry was merely a casual acquaintance, but when confronted with the DNA findings, he altered his narrative, suggesting they may have had a brief affair lasting 6 to 8 months. Popp recounted that in March 1985, he and his girlfriend participated in pool tournaments alongside Terry and Russell, often as partners. The 60-year-old truck driver has firmly refuted any involvement in the tragic death of the 24-year-old woman, asserting to authorities that he is not a violent individual and expressing bewilderment at how his DNA could possibly be linked to Terry's remains. In a 1987 police interview, Pop's former girlfriend was questioned about his potential to commit such a crime. She reportedly stated, "Mike is capable of doing something like this because he has a lot of different personalities." Yet, she maintained her belief that he was not involved. Their relationship ended in 1986 when she sought a court injunction against him due to allegations of physical abuse. Pop has since been apprehended in connection with Terry's murder and is currently detained at Vernon County Jail, facing the possibility of life imprisonment if found guilty. In the stark and lonely landscape adjacent to U.S. Highway 95 in the rural expanse of Churchill County, Nevada, an unsettling discovery awaited two wanderers in May 2008. Skeletal remains partially concealed in a shallow grave. For more than a decade, the identity of this tragic victim eluded all attempts at recognition, her name shrouded in mystery. It was only through a remarkable alliance of forensic specialists and state-of-the-art genetic technology that the veil of secrecy was lifted, granting a family the long-awaited solace they so desperately sought. On a fateful spring day in May 2008, two individuals strayed from their usual path, inadvertently uncovering skeletal remains partially buried beneath layers of dirt and gravel. Nearby, an orange halter top lay discarded, a haunting reminder of the life once lived. The Churchill County Sheriff's Office acted with urgency, initiating a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding this grim find. The remains were subsequently transported to the Washoe County Medical Examiner's Office, where a forensic pathologist confirmed the victim was an adult female, tragically slain by multiple gunshot wounds. Despite the diligent efforts of law enforcement and forensic experts, the case soon grew cold. The details were catalogued in NAMOS under the identifier UP8110, serving as a digital tribute to the unidentified woman. Investigators meticulously combed through missing persons reports, matched dental records, and pursued every potential lead, yet each promising avenue ultimately led to a dead end. The orange halter top, initially perceived as a vital clue, yielded no significant breakthroughs. As the years passed, the file on this unidentified woman accumulated dust, yet the investigators, fueled by an unwavering commitment to justice and closure, refused to abandon hope. They periodically revisited the case, anticipating that advancements in forensic science might one day illuminate the path to answers. They also held on to the hope that someone, somewhere, might emerge with the critical information needed to finally unravel this tragic mystery. The case of the unidentified woman remained shrouded in mystery, awaiting the perfect blend of technological advancement, expert insight, and fortuitous circumstances to unveil her narrative. In a remarkable turn of events in 2023, after years of stagnation, the investigation into the unidentified woman from Churchill County experienced a significant breakthrough. The Washoe County Regional Medical Examiner's Office joined forces with Othram, marking the dawn of a transformative phase in the inquiry. Othram scientists utilized cutting-edge forensic-grade genome sequencing to construct a detailed DNA profile from the skeletal remains. This sophisticated method enabled them to retrieve a pristine DNA sample, even from compromised remains. The resulting DNA profile was meticulously compared against those in consumer genealogical databases, with the necessary consent for law enforcement purposes. While this analysis does not provide a definitive identification, it generates compelling investigative leads by pinpointing potential relatives. The genetic genealogy search yielded a promising lead, suggesting a possible connection to a relative of the unidentified woman. The examiner's office pursued this lead, reaching out to the individual to elucidate the circumstances. The potential relative consented to provide a DNA sample for direct comparison. Employing their state-of-the-art technology, Othram conducted the comparison and confirmed a positive match. In 2024, the unidentified woman was finally named as Betty Lou Japel. At the age of 70, she had tragically disappeared under enigmatic circumstances in 2006. Hailing from McMinnville, Oregon, she and her longtime partner, Kenneth William Miller, embraced a nomadic lifestyle, traversing the country in their motorhome and truck. Although they never formalized their union, their bond spanned nearly 3 decades. Their journeys led them to Quartzville, Arizona, where they were last seen in mid-2006. Their motorhome was discovered abandoned in a secluded area near Redmond, Oregon, while their truck was located in Montana. The most recent transactions on their bank accounts date back to June 2006, with their last known companion being a friend named Gregory Allen, Groundhog Cole. Cole, a man with a criminal past, was embroiled in a violent confrontation with law enforcement in Quartzville in May 2007. Tragically, he was later discovered deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound near the Mexican border in June 2007. The remains of Kenneth Miller were unearthed in a shallow grave close to an abandoned motorhome in Oregon, yet there was no trace of Betty Lou. It is suspected that Cole was responsible for the deaths of both Kenneth and Betty Lou. Thanks to the tireless dedication of investigators and the groundbreaking advancements in genetic genealogy, her remains, located 1,000 miles away in Nevada, were ultimately identified. The successful identification of Betty Lou Japel, facilitated by sophisticated forensic methods, offers a long-awaited sense of closure to her family after enduring years of uncertainty and unanswered questions.